Hey guys, I'm here with Dazza and Paul, and we're going to show you 5 ways that you can get more money in your business without doing any more work. Sounds pretty fucking epic. What do you reckon?
Sounds great.
We've decided.
Got to do it on a Friday.
It's Friday, so we've got the burly big heads out. So talk to me. What fucks a business's profit line?
There's this 5 simple ways to look at it. People. Straight off the cuff.
The people.
People.
It's always people.
It's always the people. What keeps you up at night? The people.
Yeah.
Yep.
Knowing your costs and what your true costs are in your business and where you're leaking money.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be working more. You can just save some more money and get 3 quotes.
Yeah. Your processes. There's always room for improving processes. Businesses often set one up and think, all right, set and forget.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how it works. Technology these days can actually save a lot of time, money, just by actually setting up new processes and systems. And tech, you've got to use your tech to do it.
Yep. Beautiful.
Yeah, and understanding where your cash is in your business. If it's in stock, if no one's paid you, get it back out of your business and get it. Take your family on a holiday. Understanding your balance sheet's important.
And I think the final one, just in this short sort of podcast we're doing, is knowing your market. If the market's changed, keeping your finger on the pulse, understanding it, and just managing that yourself. Like, if you're chasing the wrong leads, you're never going to make money.
Yeah, beautiful. So let's pull on some threads. Where do you think we should start?
The big one.
The big one, the fucking people. Oh, that's why I'm here. I see. Oh, this is a happy accident, isn't it?
Welcome, this is Jade.
Welcome. Oh yeah, I'm Jade, by the way. Okay, so the people. So I think some of the key ways that we hemorrhage cash in our business is by having the wrong people doing the wrong jobs, and we stick it out way too long. We do that through desperation often because we're just like, the thought of training someone, this loops back to your processes though, is just a nightmare. So we get a bit complacent, we get a bit lazy. It just seems like too big a drama. But honestly, for most businesses, if they can just get the right people in the right seats doing the right jobs, the whole pain and stress of waking up every Monday going, for fuck's sake, if that's another message from someone calling in sick or like chop their finger off.
What are some of the steps that you would actually recommend? So for, like, say you're hiring, or not necessarily firing straight away, but say you're going to bring in somebody over the top. What are the key things that you would just suggest to a manager to say, what are you going to look for? Yeah.
So the number one thing that I would always do is a simple task audit. Like if the person was in the job last week or the last month, what would they have done? So it's really easy to look at tasks, like all the things we could do. But if you actually go, okay, if they were actually here last month, what would have been the things that they would have done, and how would we have judged if they did it well? So like, how are you going to go, oh yeah, they did a good job or not a good job? Because then you can understand what type of skill set that you really need. And when you move forward to inducting them, you know how to train them so that they know how to get the job done, like you paint what done looks like for them. So you're going to set them up for success. So first thing is definitely task audit, real detailed, like what would they actually do and what does done look like in that. And then you profile the type of person. So just like any marketing campaign, you're making an avatar for the candidate rather than a customer. So you're like, okay, roughly how old would they be? Where would they live? What are they looking for in a job? What are their interests so that you can attract you speak so they can hear you.
In your experience working with businesses, do you reckon a lot of businesses actually take the best of a bad bunch because they don't understand that whole process in it? Yeah.
So the number one problem that I see is unconscious bias. Yeah. We hire people like us because we like them, right? We don't need more of us. Like we're the fucking problem.
Yeah. Who's
right? Right? I need someone to sort out my operations, and then I'll hire someone that's like me because they're heaps of fun.
Yeah.
And then wonder why they're so shit at detail. Yes.
Yeah.
So often, like the problem is, we lean to what we know, what's familiar to us, and what we get along with, which is usually the direct opposite of what we need to hire, so that we can get ourselves out of those roles. So if we want to get ourselves out of the roles we don't like, don't hire someone else that also doesn't like them.
Yeah.
So that's a really big problem. Desperation is the other reason why we hire the best of a bad bunch. We're just like, I just need somebody holding a fucking nail gun.
Yeah.
Like, I just need someone driving that van. I need someone to pack that box. And so it's like, warm body will do.
Yeah.
Well, what are your thoughts on, like, and I've experienced this in businesses as well, and yes, mine's finance background, but do you often think businesses try to recruit themselves internally when they should actually use external sources to find those skill sets?
In terms of they try to do the process themselves rather than hiring a recruiter to do it? Well, I see both sides of that coin. Sometimes they go to a recruiter because they don't even know where to start. But the problem is, not all recruiters are cut from the same cloth, and true. they can smell smell the blood in the water.
Commission.
All of my shit candidates to you. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't sell them anywhere else, then you don't know what the fuck you want, so you'll try the best of a bad bunch. So you've got to be really, really careful about doing it out of a lazy way or just like outsourcing for the sake of outsourcing. But also, you also need to know when to stop flogging the dead horse and ask for help. Yeah. So the first place to start, again, is you need that. If you've got the task audit and you can paint what done looks like in the job, and you need to get super clear on what your company virtues are. So we use virtues instead of values because values, I believe, are a set of beliefs that you can't force upon somebody else. And virtue by virtue is something you strive towards and is more of an action and a behavior. So if you can get really clear on, how we roll around here, the type of person we actually are, and you can brief a recruiter correctly and give them the real measurables, then you're setting them up for success and you're giving them a benchmark they need to hit. And conversely, it makes your job way easier because then you can recruit like a recruiter because you know what the hell you're talking about.
What you're looking for. Yeah. So it's interesting that you bring that up because there's a lot of businesses that we see that are task driven and they're not out there going, right, let's monitor that task. How do you monitor it? How do you measure it? We're talking about how to get cash in your business. You don't want to be, going and not quoting new work and going into new markets or doing something else because you've got a guy that hasn't turned up, can't do the tasks. And, what tools can you recommend for businesses? They don't want to be texting everyone and you're spending time doing that. What's the tools to do? To use?
So I'd say this comes back to your leadership style. Communication is king, right? The more you communicate and the clearer you are, the less fuck ups you have.
Yeah.
Right? So if you can make sure, so I talk about doing huddles instead of toolboxes.
Yeah.
Toolbox, Northwest. Like, don't cut your finger off. Make sure you do all these things safely and correctly and blah, blah, blah. Right? That's not rallying the troops and not making them motivated and inspired. So if you can turn it into a huddle and like short, sharp, right, what does done look like today? Who's doing what by when? Like, you've got the check-in point and you've opened that communication and there's consistency to it. Like, we do our huddle at, 6:58 every morning.
Yeah. 5 minutes kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yep. Back out. This is where we're going.
Yeah.
You're doing this. And I think one of the other things that happens and where there's a bit of leakage in money is people always go to those huddles and from my experience and say what they've done when you really want to go to the huddle and tell me what you haven't done because I should have already know what you needed to do. Just tell me things that you haven't done.
Yeah. So one of the ways I literally just did a huddle just before you guys got here with my team and it's like, okay, what did we work on this week? What were the wins from that? What are we working on this week and where are we stuck? What's the red flags?
Yeah.
And are you waiting on anyone else in the team or a supplier to do a handoff to you? And what do we do to get in front of that?
Yeah.
So if you can open up that communication, especially like even with trades and stuff, like, okay, well, we're still waiting on this trade to come in. Okay, cool. I can take that one. I can make that call and hustle them along. Yeah. And then rather than the guy going, oh yeah, well, I sat there all day waiting for them. It's like, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't have their number. Like,
yeah.
You sat there on Smoko. Like, he was just watching TikToks.
Yeah.
Like,
I see that a lot there.
Yeah. So that if you can, and literally can be that short and sharp, like, okay, where are you stuck? Where's the handoff? Or what do we need to do to clear the roadblocks so that you can keep going at full steam?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think they're all, very valid points and there's money to be saved straight in that. Let's jump into the next point. So we'll bounce a few questions off you here. You might not know all these ones, but so know your true costs. It's a nice boring subject, but there's a lot of businesses out there that are actually giving margin away, giving money away because they don't actually know what their base cost is.
Yeah.
So basically working bottom up approach, right?
Yeah, and in that, cost is people. Like, you've got 5 tradies sitting around and it's costing you $40 an hour, and $200 an hour. It adds up, and you do that one day.
Yeah.
It's one day a week. For a year, it adds up. There's your holiday. There's your cash back in your business just by getting that little bit of efficiency.
Things like journey planning.
Yeah.
Like thinking about who's going where in what order. Who's going to pick up different supplies and
drop off here. Instead of driving over there, pass there, come back here, you go over there.
I had an example with one of my clients, and they had the general manager driving between 2 locations, which was the equivalent of 200 Ks, right? Just to drop off something that was like a piece of equipment that was effectively worth $100 that they could have bought. And they got a GM doing like 4.5 hours. I'm like, is there a reason why the apprentice isn't doing this?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, I felt bad. And I'm like, dude, the apprentice is $16 an hour.
Yeah.
Have you worked out what your hourly rate is to the business?
Yeah.
And he's like, no. He's like, oh, I just feel bad. I said, if I hear from you stealing from the business again, he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you're stealing from the business. Like, you're
travel,
like,
time.
Yeah. Well, straight off the bottom line, right? So it's cash in your pocket.
And the job that person could have been doing in efficiencies and like training up the other staff rather than driving up and down the M1.
Yeah. And I mean, it comes back into, you tie that back into your quotes, right? Like you're not quoting for the GM to be doing a delivery, or if they're misquoting travel time, like they live on the Goldie but they're working up in Brisbane and they haven't actually quoted the travel time in there. You've got tradies sitting in a car for an hour and a half. And then straight away, that's coming straight off your bottom line. So.
Dude, and if you're not managing your tradies and checking what time they're getting out the door, like 15 minutes, especially here on the coast, right? Them having I needed to, the one that I heard the other day, why are you late? Oh, because I decided I needed to take a shit before I went and picked up such and such. And then they were picking up 3 guys on the way, right? So now I have 4 guys late because one guy decided that he didn't take a shit on time.
Because then they got sitting in a car in traffic on the M1.
Well, not only that though, we had 20 people waiting to do this training session, all waiting on these 4 guys.
Add all that.
Now where are we going? Like,
what else before we move on to the next point? Paul, even with maybe an example out of one of the businesses that you're working at the moment around supply chain.
Look, I think supply chain with the floods and COVID and everything else, everyone kind of went, there's a flood, I can't get it from my local supplier. Where are your other 3 suppliers? Because if you can't get it from that one supplier and your job stops, liquidated damages, you can't, you might have to go and pay a premium, but on the flip side, the job stops, you've got five guys standing there. So it's, I think for key products, they've got to go and look at different sources and
you got to you may have to take the short-term pain because I see this a lot, right? Oh no, but I'm not paying that because I pay $5 less per product. And it's like, okay, but now you've got a whole crew down, or worse, your reputation's going in the toilet because you're not delivering on time just because you wanted to save you. Sometimes it's kind of like that lead loss generator.
Sort of comes back to people as well.
Back to people.
If you paid just a little bit more, got the right candidate, you'll actually pay himself back twofold as opposed to going second best or that almost best candidate, and then it'll cost you money over the years.
Look, down in remote areas and down in Lismore where people are going to go to Bunnings, right? And it might be Bunnings is 20 minutes away, and there's a little hardware store, and it's going to cost you $10 more to run in, grab it, and instead of driving 20 minutes, which is 40 minutes, which becomes an hour, you're here, you've got it cost you $10, and
fuel prices at the moment.
Oh, Jesus! Well, I was happy that when I got back into the country, we dropped something like 50 cents on diesel since I got back, but I hear they're going back up again. So I was like,
still shit.
But that's real. What I call scarcity mindset, like the scarcity mindset of saving a couple of bucks here and here. Like you're looking too minuscule. You're not looking at zooming out, looking at the big picture and the longer costs, and definitely not weighing up your labour costs, which are usually your highest. If
it is. I mean, that flows straight into the next one, which is sort of improving the processes. So, most costs in businesses are labour, but then it's also process driven. So whether it's people processes or even, people doing manual processes that can be automated. So you know you've got to do an overhaul on that whole process, because that will add to your bottom line as well. It might cost you a little bit more to set up, say, an automation using technology, but at the same time, over a 12-month period, you're going to save so much in the back end.
And the stress levels. The other thing I'd say about that is automation should be anything that you don't have to do. So you can automate, and controversial, but using offshore outsourced resources. Like, there is so much that you can get a outsourced VA or outsourced freelancer to do for you in your business. Like, if you sat down and looked at, like, you guys know, I don't do email. That's not a Jade thing, right? I don't.
She doesn't answer her phone.
That was a miracle, right? I don't. But when you look at how much time you can save, like, just how much shit's in your fucking inbox. Like, we were even talking just before the podcast, like, okay, who's the average guy that's going to listen to this, or average girl's going to listen to it? Oh, they're owned in the morning, because first thing they do is check their phone. They're already, like, answering emails or going through their inbox, and, like, they're busy being busy. I don't need to know all the spam that's in my inbox. Like, every friggin' click is time, right? But there's this thing called like digital dementia, but also decision fatigue. So every tiny little decision you make wears down on your ability to make better decisions. So either looking at an email and making a decision of whether you're going to delete it or unsubscribe from it or deal with it later, that's depleting your ability to make high-level decisions. So don't fucking do it.
You need to allocate a specific time and then move on. Don't come.
No, get someone else to do that for you. Just do what only you need to do. Like, Kay just sits me down. So we've got a standing time in the calendar, and she does, like, her win for this week was she got to go through Jade's inbox with her. Right? And clear them all out. But she just clears everything.
Do you need to buy her accountant?
I do. I do.
It's a long week for her.
It's a long week, man. We do it a couple of weeks. But literally, she just goes through and clears everything out. Half the time, she'll send me a message and say, can you just voice message me back what to say to this person? Which I can do while I'm driving, right? If I'm driving, I can smash so many emails, because I can either have her on a call and she just reads them and I respond and she types them, or I just voice message backwards and forwards.
But unproductive time becomes productive.
So,
I mean, once again, productive time, money in your pocket. Unproductive, waste money.
God help anyone if I'm driving, because that's get shit done time.
She's got hands free. It's okay.
Yeah, I got hands free. We just video call Kay, and then.
I think the other thing is, like, with some of the tradies and the technology is, you know, there's been jobs that have happened at my house, and they've come and done the job. They've sent 2 guys there. They've come and fixed up the gas bottle and did the work and everything else, and they're there about an hour and never got a bill. And so what happens is, and this has happened with John and a couple of other people, you know, using technology where the guys go to site, they take a photo, they send it, and it's logged into something like, you know, a Firehawk system where they can track everything, they can bill it. They don't have to go home and write it out.
Well, the invoice is already produced.
The produce, you know, everything's done. The cash flow's done. It's sent to the client, and you know, there's technology that can, before you even drive out, you've already been paid. So you're not even going to have to chase the money. Like,
think about that whole process then, right? So using Firehawk can do what? Like, they can do their quoting, they can do their
invoicing, take a photo of the job, send it to the clients, and send updates. Everything.
And they can follow up like an overdue invoice and everything. So think about how many people are usually involved just in that process. And the downtime of chasing and the money that's not in your bank.
Well, it's just like the manager. Like, even if you're off the tools, you're stuck in the back office because you're quoting, you're trying to get the invoicing out because you're worried about your cash, right?
And I'm guessing if you're the type of person who decided to do an apprenticeship or go on the tools or do something like that, you probably didn't want to be in office, and that's why you didn't take an office job in the first place. So it's probably not your happy place.
Right?
So find ways to make it.
But if you can do it there and then, you don't have to think about it. The apprentice is packing up, bang, 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 done. You're not going to go home and say to the missus, "Oh, can you write out these invoices and send those invoices?" You know, and then
my ex used to like ring me, and he's like, "Babe, can you just quickly get this invoice out? I should have told you last week, but I really need. He's got to have it today." I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? I'm about to roll into 6 hours of back-to-back Zoom, and you want me to write you an invoice? I'm going to kill you." Right? I'm like, get a system. I made you a template.
And this sort of flows into the next point that we've got on our sort of little hit list of 5, and it's understanding your working capital. And when I talk about working capital, everyone goes, "What the fuck's that?" It's basically cash. How do you manage your cash? And that is like if you
Like
get,
this.
Yeah.
if you're getting your invoices
Okay,
out,
do we have money to pay?
but if you're getting your invoices out, you've got more chance of actually collecting it. Like you're actually going to get the money in. So
Novel idea. Yesterday I was like, oh yeah, send invoice.
it's like
Did work, send money.
bank account's empty.
Yeah.
Oh, what's happening?
Yeah. And
Bye. Oh, no bye.
it happens so many times where, they don't tradies don't invoice. The apprentice forgot to fill in I was there, I did that,
man.
I went there, and I can't remember because I did it,
time sheet.
But how annoyed are you if you're getting, like, say you're doing a reno or something, and like 3 months later, you then get hit with a $15,000 bill because someone's forgotten to put all of their progress payments through for the last 3 months. You're like, didn't even think about it. I thought that this was the money that I was working with. Now I've got to find another $15,000. Like, you're pissed off as a client.
Yeah.
And then you've probably got to chase it because now they've got to find it.
Yeah.
Like, so inefficient. And what could you be doing with that cash?
Oh, exactly. I mean,
jet ski.
You go surfing.
Jet ski. Yeah. I'm like, I'm never paddling over there. So like, jet ski.
But yeah,
Can I need more down there? Can I have more jet ski down there?
Possibly. But
That's the key. Leave is the key.
But
I usually lock the keys to my van, like, so the house keys, and like, so we just put all the keys in the van, and then the vans are available as well.
And then I guess last point sort of is probably the most critical one for individual businesses and how they're approaching it. It's really, that's just looking at the market, know the market that you're in. You may be in a trade, like you're a builder, but, are you a high-end builder? You got to follow your niche and what you're trying to achieve. Like, if you're competing against all the big boys and they're going to undercut you all the time, is that really the market that you want to be in? Are you going to make money to be able to then, go on holidays with your family, actually get some money to go to the pub on the weekend, or you're just going to be working your ass off 7 days a week because you can't afford to do anything? So it's really understanding that market or the potential of new market entrance. So don't just think set and forget sort of scenario.
Like, and in that, it's also, if you're a carpenter and you're looking at it and you go, well, you know what, a new market or a new revenue stream could be, I'm going to open up like a little cabinet making workshop that I can just do some basic kind of work in and save some money there. Might be doing kitchens or something else, cabinetry, and that's just a different market that saves you money and then frees up again working capital and you can make more money and then eventually you could turn that into a business that you could sell.
It's like my brother, he's a chippy and he started making chopping boards. I had fucking so many of them sitting around the shed and he's like, oh yeah, you just sell them. And like,
sell them?
Yeah, it was a great idea until he asked me to sell them. And then he had to ask for them back. But I mean, you need to be able to know, okay, yes, it could be a good idea, but how are you going to execute on it to actually turn it into cash? Like, you got the raw material, yes, you got it all there. It's great having 100 chopping boards, but if you're not going to sell them, what's the fucking point?
It's all of the energy expended on that as well. And I think this is where people can get shiny things, like stay in your lane and master it and milk the shit out of that and do what you've already got.
Or don't rely on your brother to sell them.
Well,
he had a good idea. I just didn't execute on it.
My sister needed chopping boards. It's hilarious for her Play-Doh business.
I'm sure he's got a couple left.
Oh man! So I wanted to help out, and then I'm sanding the corners of chopping boards. So next minute I'm with my ex. We're on his building site, and we're like using the drop saws, and we're doing all this stuff, and then I'm sanding. I'm like, how much do you make out of these fucking chopping boards? Because my hourly rate is not. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. And I actually sent her away. I said, you need to do your cogs on this. Like, how much does it actually fucking cost in man hours and productivity?
Oh, really? Point number 2. Know your true cost.
Yeah, know your true cost. Like, honestly, I was like, I know you really want these all natural chopping boards, but I really don't think that this is helping the profit line of the business. And otherwise,
I'm not to you.
Yeah, otherwise I'm gonna have
17-year-olds.
And I'm like, and then his hourly rate, like, it's a chippy, we're charging him out $70 an hour.
Yeah.
Like, we need a couple of 14-year-old kids on hand sanding. Yeah.
Child labour. Some sort of rules around that one, but
14, 9 months you're allowed to work.
Oh, okay.
After
Isn't that
school
true?
care. Woodwork after school
Woodwork.
care.
But yeah.
I did woodwork at school.
Yeah.
You get a lathe, you get a 14.
Still got all your fingers.
Most of them work.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's pretty much what we wanted to touch on with the 5 points. I think we can dive into each of those points a lot more. Like Jade has a wealth of knowledge in the people side of things, and Paul and I can definitely jump into more detail in the others. But I thought introductory wise, Jade, thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.
It's time for a cold beer.
Time for a cold beer.
Yeah, out of the freezer.